republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Now for a moment of silence. Okay. Well, I certainly did not want to break up all of the conversations and the positive energy out there this evening. So welcome everybody, new teachers. We specifically are so happy to see you here this evening. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gutierrez for superintendent announcements.
Good evening, board members and Seguin ISD community. We are a month into the school year, and tonight I would like to take this opportunity to share information and update you on a few of our initiatives. So I have quite a bit because it has been some time since we've come together, and a lot of great things have happened over the last month. First, Seguin ISD and Seguin High School hosted a grand opening ceremony for the new campus on August the 31st, where approximately 250 community members were in attendance. And I appreciate our school board members, the architects, contractor, and construction representatives for attending and helping us cut the ribbon at the new school. I think the highlight was seeing so many of our community come together to tour the campus with students serving as our tour guides. The evening was topped off by a Matador victory on the football field. I would also like to thank our community members who took time out of their day to attend one of the meet and greets held on September the 8th and on September the 11th. These proved to be great opportunities to introduce myself to more than 50 parents, grandparents, employees, and even students from across our district. On September the 13th, we hosted the first Superintendent Student Advisory Team meeting. This group is made up of a diverse group of student representatives from each campus and a variety of grade levels. I'm looking forward to these students taking me on a tour of their respective campus in order for me to hear their perspective at their school, and I begin the student-led tours this week beginning on Thursday. September 15th marked the last day for the Harvey Relief Challenge, in which Seguin ISD challenged New Braunfels ISD to raise $1 for every student enrolled in our district. And I am extremely proud to report that Seguin ISD exceeded the goal and raised $7,359. In addition to that, and that was in a very short amount of time, but in addition to that $7,359, the athletic booster and band boosters each raised an additional $7,000 towards the Rockport Fulton fundraiser. Last week's events included Meet the Mats on September the 18th, the Seguin Outdoor Learning Center Open House on September the 19th, and the Chamber of Commerce 97th Annual Awards Banquet last week. I was very proud to see our very own Jack Lee receive his Community Service Award. Jack has taught at the Seguin High School for many years and dedicates his spare time toward the Interactive Club, which is a student community service organization, and also Mr. Lee serves as the chair for the Teacher Communication Council, which we held our very first meeting yesterday afternoon prior to going to a board-to-board workshop that was hosted by the Seguin Chamber of Commerce. These events have allowed me the opportunity to meet our teaching staff and community and business leaders. Today, at Potlawn, our staff reacted quickly to ensure the safety of our students after a small fire was discovered in a boys' bathroom trash can. The school was evacuated quickly, and each student boarded a bus in order to get out of the rain. At that time, it was in the middle of lunch, and it was also pouring outside. The Seguin Fire Department was on the scene, and after it was determined that it may take time for the fire crews to evacuate the building, the students were transported to Goldie Gym. And at that time, we had the curriculum and instruction department along with other departments on staff ready to greet the students and escort them to the bleachers where they could sit by their respective grade levels. Also, food service staff delivered a meal for each student to eat while they were in the gym. Maintenance staff was in pot lawn cleaning up, and by 1:00 p.m., buses were on the way back from Goldie to transport students to pot lawn where they finished their day. Our pot lawn, food service, transportation, maintenance, and district office staff exhibited outstanding teamwork during this campus issue, and I appreciate their efforts, and I appreciate the timely communication that came from our communications department and from the campuses. I just want the community to know how much I value their patience as we work through crises like these. We can't communicate right away when a crisis arises because we have to understand first what the issue is, but as soon as we are made aware, we certainly do communicate that out. And one of the other things, another reason why we don't communicate those out right away is because, of course, parents are going to become concerned and want to check out their students right away. But first we must try to get to the root of the problem and develop a plan and get the kids to a safe location so that we then can, once we know all of our kids are with us, check them out. So I do appreciate the efforts of Pot Lawn. They did an outstanding job dealing with this crisis. Thankfully, the fire was contained, taken care of, and by the afternoon, if you followed Pot Lawn on Twitter, kids were back to learning. You wouldn't have known that there was this issue. So very proud of Pot Lawn. Just a quick update on the 90-day plan. We're in the process of creating 4 task forces to examine current trends, student data for all populations, practices, and program design in the district. These 10-member task force groups will meet over a 3-year period with the goal of developing and monitoring a plan of action to address the various areas of concern, our areas of opportunity. Task forces will be led by curriculum and instruction directors under the guidance of the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. The groups will focus on special education, multilingual and bilingual education, English as a second language, GT and advanced academics, and post-secondary readiness. Just a heads up, I believe the deadline to apply to serve on a task force is tomorrow. We are accepting applications from teachers and community members. We are asking for a 3-year commitment and for references. In the coming weeks, I am looking forward to organizing and meeting with a diverse group of key communicators in an effort to foster two-way communication between stakeholders and the Board of Trustees and administration. A facilities committee with community representatives appointed by our school board members will study and evaluate our campus and facility infrastructure. Ultimately, the collective work of all of these groups will be instrumental in designing a strategic plan to guide the district for the next 5 years. I will share additional updates to our 90-day plan in the future, in future weekly updates and in future board meetings. Upcoming events include the Seguin High School College Fair on Friday at 9 a.m. and the Sports Booster Club Hall of Honor at 6 o'clock on Friday. On October 4th, the Seguin Education Foundation Welcome Wagon will begin at 8:30 a.m. and that evening is a special board meeting at 6:30 p.m. And before we close out, please join me in welcoming our new hires to Seguin ISD. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dot Whitman, our Assistant Superintendent for Administrative Services.
Good evening, Dr. Gutierrez, members of the board. This is a fun part of the board meeting tonight as you get to see some of the brand new faces that are in our classrooms and our departments. But before we get started with that, we also would like to thank the administrators that came out tonight, department supervisors. It is time out of their, they have long, busy days, and they are coming out on their own free time tonight to support their new hires. So administration and department supervisors, thanks for coming out as well. So without further ado, I did just get a quick text message from one of our new teachers from Pot Lawn and said, after today, I was very wet and gross, and I didn't feel like I could come to the board meeting. So she sends her apologies. But what we're going to do is we're going to allow each individual come through. We're going to start a line. They're going to tell you their name, their campus, and what they're teaching or what they're supporting as far as departments. And then they'll exit off to the left, and then Mr. Hoffman is going to take a group photo so we can share that on our website and Twitter for tomorrow. So first row, come on up.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Jones. I'm at the high school and I'm teaching pre-calculus and algebra 2.
Hi, my name is Megan Holmes, and I'm teaching 10th grade integrated physics and chemistry. Hi, thank you for having us, and thank you all for being here. My name is Chelsea Bodie, and I teach AVID 1 and 2 at the high school, and then I also teach the Star Steppers dance team.
Good evening, thanks for having us. My name is Christine Miranda, and I am the instructional coach at Barnes Middle School.
Good evening, my name is Lisa Figueroa, and I teach at Kennedy Elementary, 4th grade.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Antonio Noriega, and I'm the music teacher at Kennedy Elementary.
Good evening. My name is Steve Gonzalez, and I am the new CT director at the high school.
Hi, I'm Joyce Kristen. I'm the occupational therapist, and I make my way to all the campuses in a given week.
Hi, my name is Jenna Annis. I'm a speech therapist, and I'm at Potlawn and Rodriguez this year. Hi, I'm Kimberly Ferguson. I'm the special education coordinator of behavior programs. And usually my hair looks better than this, but I was at Potlawn this morning, so I spent some time in the rain.
Hi, I'm Tracy Tate, and I'm at Fall Elementary teaching special education, PPCD.
Hi there. I'm Kelsey Sage. I'm at Rodriguez Elementary School, and I'm teaching the special ed inclusion program.
Hello, I'm Risa Cunningham, and I'm at Rodriguez Elementary teaching 4th grade English Language Arts and Social Studies.
Good evening, my name is Mary Bryce, and I'm teaching 3rd grade ELA and Social Studies at Rodriguez Elementary.
Hi, I'm Megan Sewell. I'm the instructional coach at Jefferson Elementary, and I don't look all wet and dirty because my lovely principal, Miss White, did outdoor duty for me. Hi, I'm Michelle Cowie. I'm 3rd grade Jefferson, self-contained.
Hi, my name is Brian Martinez, and I'm a speech therapist, and I'm district-wide, so I'm everywhere.
Hi, I'm David Ramos. I'm a licensed specialist in school psychology intern, and I'm also district-wide.
I certainly want to take a minute to just thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. I know there's a lot going on this time of year, but to be able to take a minute just to come and celebrate this opportunity that you've had to come to Seguin. But most importantly, I appreciate you choosing to join the Seguin Matador family. I've had the opportunity to also see some of you in action. I'm just so proud of the work that you're doing for our students day in and day out. Again, thank you for choosing the Matador family.
I wish we could start out every meeting this uplifting. This is great. We're changing things a little bit in the board agenda, some of you may notice, and one of the things that we've added is to have each of the board members just give short reports on activities that they may have taken part in throughout the district over the course of the last month. So I guess I'll just go first. As Dr. Gutierrez said, we had the grand opening at the high school. And that was a lot of fun. I have actually attended football games. Those of you who know me know that's a big deal. And volleyball as well. And actually, I've enjoyed each and every one of those games. I did attend the McQueenie Open House. I believe that was last week. and got to visit with Ms. Guetta and some of the parents out there at McQueenie, and McQueenie is a great place to school. Is that still the saying that you use?
No, ma'am.
Oh, that's kind of
We're
an old
from
one.
McQueen, the school by the lake.
The school by the lake.
Respectful, responsible, cooperative, and safe.
Okay, all right, I'll get that down, yes. I also was able to visit with most of the central office staff at the Seguin Outdoor Learning Center open house last week. Yesterday, most of us attended the chamber roundtable, which was a great opportunity to visit with some of the businesses here in the city and discuss with them things that they want from us and things that we would like to see from them as well. It's a win-win situation. And last but not least, I went to a Drama Mama meeting. So I'm big into theater, and even though my daughter graduated and my son graduated, I'm still a proud drama mama. So I'll turn it over to John. Can we start on this end? Is that all right?
I've had the pleasure of attending several football games, band practices, watching our Matador band learn their new performance, and I've been assisting with props and so forth. We did have an awesome game this past Friday night, if you hadn't heard, but it was a very intense game, and we came back twice to beat Lockhart, and I'm very proud of those Matador football boys and the support. I also attended the Rockport Fulton game, and let me tell you, it was great to talk to those people that were here, and they were very appreciative of what this town, this community did as far as stepping up and assisting them and welcoming them. They kept on raving and raving about it, and I think that's what this community is all about, is stepping up and when in crisis and coming together and making things work. So it's been a pleasure.
Well, I have nothing to report as far as activities go. I am looking forward to attending the CASB convention next week as an alternate delegate, and hopefully I can gain some information at that convention that I can share with you next time we see this.
Besides attending all these meetings and whatever it is, I've spent an awful lot of time with the building committee, trying to figure out what is wrong and what is right, and trying to speed the building of the high school and its parking lots, and making sure that everything is within budget and on time. And it's a long meeting, and many of them. So after that is all said and done, I guess I'm tired and I want to go home and play with my dogs. So.
Well, I've been to several football games. My son plays, so I get to watch them. And then a couple of volleyball games. And we went to the round table the other night. We did have a board workshop here. First part of the month, which was really good. And let's see, I did attend the Potline open house. I was a little late, but I got there and got to visit with everybody, and that was a good experience. So I always like to visit with Miss Booth's mom and the staff there. So enjoyed that.
I'm Real from District 7. That is Vogel and Canopy and Breezy. We have not had our open houses yet. They're looking forward to attending those. Like here, we went to the night open in high school. It was just fabulous. Football games. I visited at Vogel with the principal, Chandra Block. Had a really nice visit with her, and she updated me on all the fabulous things they're doing over there. And we're going to take care of the snake problem. And one thing that Vogel did on their own, in addition to all of the great fundraisers for Rockport, Vogel had their own fundraiser for an elementary school that they adopted in Katy. They collected clothing and just all sorts of things for the school, school supplies, backpacks. And last night was the talent pipeline meeting. I'm so excited about that, and I'm a CTE person, and I think that's going to not just help Seguin ISD, but all the schools in the area and our kids. Super excited.
Okay, and like some of the other board members mentioned, are the athletic activities, the ribbon-cutting ceremony, of course, and the meetings and the workshops that we talked about. Other than that, I have nothing else to report other than I informed Dr. Gutierrez that I'm working with Continental to try to get some funding. I spoke with Dr. Gutierrez and Mr. Lewis attempted to get some funding for the robotics programs that we have within the district. So that one is keeping our fingers crossed, and I think we have a very good shot of getting some corporate money for that. So we'll keep everybody posted, obviously, when that comes to fruition. But other than that, that should be it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Flores, and that's wonderful news. All right, moving on to our campus recognition presentation. I think I'll turn this over to Dr. Gutierrez or Mr. Hoffman.
Board members, Dr. Gutierrez, it's with deep sorrow and regret that Potlan Elementary School will not be doing their campus presentation tonight. We hope you understand the reason why. It's been a very busy day for Ms. Guzman and her staff and her students, a little stressful for them. So when they asked if they could opt out tonight, we certainly granted that wish for them and look forward to getting them back up here in the near future to tell us what's going on at Potlan.
And in addition, we also have a staff recognition this evening.
Board members, Dr. Gutierrez, it's a pleasure this evening to recognize one of our very own. This gentleman is the choir teacher at Breezy Meister Middle School. His name is Sam Parrott. He's right behind me. There he is. I looked back and I thought he had left with the other group. Come on up, Sam. A+ Federal Credit Union is a credit union. They have about 20 branch locations, mostly in Central Texas and I would say the greater Austin area. They also have a education foundation, the A+ Education Foundation. And in 2017, the A+ Education Foundation provided 92 different grants to educators from the region. And Mr. Parrott applied. He received a grant. He's going to tell us how much and what the grant's all about. And then we also have a representative from A+ who will come up to provide him with a certificate.
Thank you for having me here tonight. This grant is something I've applied for. This is the third time I've received it. The first time I received it for funding for my elementary school when I taught in Austin ISD. And last year when I was joined at Breezy by Mr. Tommy Jackson, our theater teacher, we said we're going to go for a musical. We're going to try a musical and see what happens. That became this new thing, this new excitement that's been going on at Breezy, that musicals are going to be this new thing for all the kids to do. And so Lion King went over so well last year. We said, let's take it easy and let's just do 2 this year. So we started so easy with the Lion King. We thought, why not make it even easier on ourselves? So we thought, let's do a fall musical and then a spring musical. And so our idea was to do Elf Jr. in the fall and then do Beauty and the Beast Jr. in the spring. And this was an opportunity for more students. I know in Lion King we had 150 students participate. And this year for Elf Jr. we'll have about almost 200 students participate in Elf Jr. And roughly, hopefully, with more students joining, about 220 joining us for Beauty and the Beast Jr. This is a very large cast, very large show. And so the amount that we received was $1,000. And that was going towards paying for the rights and the materials for both musicals. Last year it paid for the rights and the materials and then some of the sets. This year, since we did so well on the musical last year, that this was able to fund a portion of the musical this year. So we'll be doing both those. I think Elf is the first week and second week of December, and then Beauty and the Beast is going to be the last 2 weeks of May.
And we have A+ FCU San Marcos branch manager Kirby Watrich, who's here today, and he will come up and say a few words, and we will definitely get our photo op.
Well, for one, thank you all very much for having us. And thank you for the great introduction.
and congratulations, Sam. On behalf of A+, kind of give y'all a little bit of background. Y'all gave us a great introduction, so thank you. This Education Foundation was established in 2005 by A+ Federal Credit Union, and it's for all full-time educators to apply for, from pre-K all the way up until 12th grade. And Samuel let you know that he's taken advantage of it numerous times, so why not? We're here. We want to hear the stories. We want to give out. We want to help the educators get what they need in their classroom or in their theater, wherever it may be. We want to help. And in total, since we started, we've given over $757,000 to surrounding areas, surrounding school districts in the Austin area, Seguin ISD, San Marcos ISD. You apply. I wish the educators were still in here because I'd tell them to apply. Because you never know if you're going to get selected. And we encourage all your teachers to apply because they could get selected and have something built on top of their dreams and what they're trying to accomplish for their students. This year we did 92 local educators, grant award winners, with a total of $85,000. So yes, that's all I got to say. And congratulations, Sam, and thanks for taking advantage of it once again. We have some goodies for them. First is I apologize. First is a mug for you. Right? And then we have a hanger that you can hang. Proudly let everyone know if it fits out of the box. You'll see that before. And then your certificate. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Barrett.
And Mr. Parrott, I'm going to brag on you a little bit. Is this your third year in Seguin?
This is my third year.
Your third year, and I do know that this is the third grant that you've gotten since you've come to Seguin ISD. So I hope that a lot of other teachers follow suit and realize that there's money out there. You just have to apply for it. So thank you for leading an example. Okay. All right, moving on to item 3, audience with the board, and we did not have anybody sign up this evening. So we'll move on to item number 4, reports and informational items. And so we're going to start off with the board receiving an update on the strategic instruction model, or SIM, that is being implemented at both middle schools during the 2017-18 school year. So Mr. Schmidt. Welcome.
President Thomas Jimenez, Dr. Gutierrez, and members of the board, we'd like to take a little bit of time this evening just to show you where we are with implementation of the strategic instruction model. I have Allison Pape with me, our Director of Secondary Ed. We're going to kind of tag team this one a little bit just to show you where we are as far as implementation and where we are with this model to help with literacy. Okay, so as you can see from the PowerPoint, we do have this model. If we're going to be putting something in to help with literacy, it's going to be data-based. This was developed by the Center of Research on Learning at the University of Kansas. We've been operating using this model since 2015-16. It was brought on board from Region 13. And really the big part here is that we had about 50% or so, over 50% of our students that were 1 to 2 years below grade level when it comes to reading and literacy. So that being said, we knew we had to come up with something that was going to be put into place really to help our students become more successful in that regard, and something that our teachers could utilize as well.
So again, the strategic instruction model, it's again research-based, and so it's a very, it's strategic, hence the name, so a very structured model. One of the things that is included in the SIM model is the content literacy continuum. And so there are 5 levels of literacy, and it basically focuses on helping secondary schools with this literacy approach. As Mr. Schmidt said, when you see over half of your population coming in reading below grade level, that can be a daunting task for teachers. And so looking at a school-wide model that can help all students access text, whether it be in science class, math class, social studies. And so the SIM model includes this continuum of literacy that starts with level 1, and it's basically focusing on mastering critical content for all content areas, regardless of your reading level. And that's something we'll talk a little bit more about, that we're focusing our implementation for this school year. And as you can see, as the levels go, level 5 is really what they call therapeutic intervention. And those are for students who have learning disabilities, reading, and so that's when you start getting into special education approaches. Well, we will again talk about implementation, but what we're looking at in Seguin ISD is we've really been focusing on those level 1, level 2, and level 3 aspects of this literacy.
And we wanted to be able to point out, if you look at the diagram here, that this model does dovetail rather nicely with the RTI model. So we talked about Tier 1, which is going to be basic classroom quality instruction. That's going to be reaching the majority of the students. That's going to align with the CLC model, level 1 and 2. Tier 2, which is going to be held at various locations as interventions, remedial efforts for students that aren't quite getting it, students that we need to focus on to help them be successful, is going to align with 3 or 4 of this model. And then we have another model, or Tier 3, which is going to be basic intensive instruction for those students that need that support. And that's going to align with level 4 and 5. This gives the campuses a common language really across the content areas to be able to work with students who need that support.
And so again, just building an overview of SIM before we talk about implementation specifically in Seguin. When you go back to that content literacy continuum, what they offer is something called content enhancement routines. And that's at the Tier 1 level. And these are teaching devices that teachers can use for students. And the idea is that it's a tool for students to help access the information. And this chart gives you an overview of some of the content enhancement routines that are available. We are not implementing all of these in Seguin at once. Part of the implementation is to start with one content enhancement routine and then phase in other ones as students become more successful with them. But what you'll see on the chart on the left is essentially outcomes. So what's great about SIM is there's lots of, again, tools that campuses can use based on data and based on needs. And you can focus on those outcomes and really hone in on, what is it that what is the right tool that we feel, would be a best fit for our campuses.
And as we get into the implementation piece, that will be coming next. We also have learning strategies. Once again, we have the tools and the outcomes. And this is just a visual that shows you some of the tools that teachers have really at their disposal, they'll be able to use to help students with acquisition, storage, of material, and being able to express that competence. And that's going to, once again, go across the curriculum. So they'll be able to use that to be successful in each of the content areas.
So when we look at implementation in Seguin, again, as Mr. Schmidt said, Region 13 has been supporting us. This SIM model is something that we've been looking at for the last couple of years, and that principals, our middle school principals, have been really excited about. We visited a campus in Hayes ISD back in the 2014-15 school year that was implementing SIM. We walked to the campus, talked to the principal. They got a lot of ideas about that implementation, and we've been slowly easing some pieces in. Again, principals last year were really excited about moving forward with the Tier 1 piece. And so what we're implementing, starting in August, we started implementing the content enhancement routines, and we focused with the unit organizer routine. And that's just a sample, and then this is an actual sample from the 7th grade social studies class from AJB. And what you see, again, it's a tool for students that really just maps out the unit. It connects it to the prior unit, it connects it to the next unit, it breaks down the overall concept of that unit, it breaks in the teaks and the verbs and what it is that students actually have to be doing. You have the unit self-test questions at the bottom that students and teachers can use to gauge their understanding of the material. And so again, it's a really great tool for students just to help organize that information. One of the things we know in middle school is they come from a very structured environment in elementary and can come to that secondary, 6th grade campus where you have 7 teachers, 7 different classes, 7 different styles of teaching. And so this model is very much that structured, strategic piece. And so, again, trained teachers in August, and we're beginning to see the implementation of unit organizers with that support of the Region 13 team.
We've gone out to campuses and we've seen it in action. We've noticed the students looking at verbs. I am going to analyze, I'm going to be comparing and contrasting. So there's that metacognitive piece where they're able to think about the thinking and the learning and apply it.
And then for the Tier 2 learning strategies, again, we've been implementing this for the last couple of years, starting the 15-16 school year. These learning strategies, again, are very specific strategies for helping students access text. They're designed for students who are reading 2 to 3 grade levels below. And we offer these strategies in accelerated reading and writing classes at grades 6 through 8. This is an additional English language arts class that students are placed into based on their data. The campus leadership teams will look at different points of data to see if there's a need that includes in reading levels, prior testing history, information from teachers. And so we'll share it at the bottom for our grade 8 accelerated reading and writing classes. We're seeing some good success. In the 15-16 school year, we had about 45% of students who passed the grade 8 reading star. Now, 45%, you might be like, that's not a very high number. Again, if you look, it's based on prior data. The majority of these students had never passed a reading star in their entire testing history, and had definitely not passed the prior year. So to see our students being successful in some of these areas, the number might not seem large in the grand scheme of things, but for this population of students, it's really exciting. And then to also see that 74% met or exceeded progress, which is a measure that the state provides us where we might not quite be at that grade level, but we're showing that we're making a lot of gains. And so you're seeing last school year, again, similar numbers for that. So again, we just wanted to provide you an update on this very exciting instructional initiative that's happening at both of our middle schools. And so if you've heard that word SIM or you've heard these things that have been discussed at the middle schools, we wanted to make you aware of what was going on. And this will be something that we will be working on the implementation throughout the school year.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? No? All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to the next item in the agenda, which is the discussion on possible elimination of the timeline to file a complaint in accordance with FNG local and GF local. Dr. Gordo, I believe. And this was brought forth by Trustee Elena Reel.
Good evening. Basically, at the request that came forward, there were 2 items that were put on the agenda. Well, 1 item on the agenda with 2 different policies there. One having to do with a request when it comes of a parent or a student. And the research was done on neighboring districts. And basically that's what we've done in the past. We look at what other districts do around us. And then we also look at some outliers where there's some things that are done differently than what we do. So what we did on the FNG, which on the FNG is the one that has to do with students and parents. And we looked at the following districts. And I believe that you have the handout there. And we did some comparisons. We did not go into detail as far as in-depth other than the number of days, because I think that was the main reason to do the research. So we started obviously with our district, and what we noticed that throughout on level 1, it is indeed the 15 days. When we looked at level 2, consistent, 10 days, and then it went on. And what you see under level 2 is that you look at the layer of the individuals that they meet with. So for example, if it has to do something with a given department, then they meet with that individual on that department. And they follow the same number of days. Then they go to level 3. Now, what we did find is that at least 2 districts go on to level 4. They add a layer. That was San Antonio ISD and Plano ISD. Those 2 districts went on to a level 4. Before, in other words, we go to level 3, and that is a level to the board. Those 2, level 4 is the one that goes to the board. Then GF, it's also, that one goes public complaint, and they follow the same process, and they have the same number of days. One difference that we did find, there was one district that they have as a requirement mediation before they even start on level 1. Now, that was something that we did find as an outlier. So that's the findings that we have. And again, the districts that we see are surrounding. Navarro, Marion, Comal ISD, New Braunfels, just because we sometimes have we share the same community sometimes. And that's what some of the findings that we have.
Ms. Rio?
I just asked to have a discussion about it was when I was thinking 15 days, and I understand that other districts in the surrounding area, that's pretty common, is 15 days. But in a 15-day time limit, I'm just concerned that it might be restricted for parents who might not be aware of procedures and rights and things. Or for the public, if they have to, if they're made aware of something, but they're not really sure of, what to do about it. If they do a Public Information Act request, that can take up to 10 days. So that 15-day time frame just seems a little restrictive, and I don't think that just because other districts have that as a policy that means we have to. I would like to see us as a leader and maybe a little more innovative, and maybe if we could get something put on our website for a parent, because right now I think we have to come in and get a form, or I'd just like to see maybe a discussion on a little more flexibility for people, so that it's not so restrictive.
And can I chime in for just a second? And I understand that, and so there are many reasons why we would want to perhaps consider an extension. But I feel like as we're moving forward and talking about proper protocol when it comes to making a complaint and the proper chain of command, one of the things that we've been in discussion with specifically with Dr. Gordo is putting something available on our website to kind of talk about that flow, so that the community knows who their go-to person is, because many times they'll just go to a trustee to solve an issue when in reality the only ones who can solve the issue is the administration. So you're redirecting it to us. But what I think that flow chart is I think it's going to help our community understand the proper protocol to follow. But I think something that could be added is a hot link to the policy, should someone choose to want to go that route to have something handled in a formal fashion. I understand that sometimes the 15 days could be unreasonable due to the need to gather additional information and such, and we've probably all run into incidents where, I know I have in the past, having been over HR and student services in the past, but I can say that these districts, a couple of which I have been part of, there is that flexibility when you are aware as an administrator that there was some type of obstacle that was in the way, and we can certainly grant an additional day or 2 or 3. We certainly have that flexibility to do that. But I feel like one of the actions that we can take as an administration is just outlining the flow for complaints, and that making it clear who the go-to is, how to handle it at the lowest level, all the way up to, once you've gone those different levels, you don't necessarily have to file a complaint to finally get to the superintendent, but you have to follow the chain of command. But in addition to that flow, we can certainly add the formal grievance procedures, a hot link to that information. Correct. We can add just a hot link that has the policy, for example, FNG, that's a hot link that once you click on it, it has the policy in the form.
Yeah, I wasn't asking for it to be eliminated, just some flexibility on the time frame. So I just want parents to have that, there's other obstacles brought into, not just say, oh, sorry, it's 15 days and everyone is closed.
Yeah, I think we all understand that. Mr. Amador?
Do we know if a complaint is preceded by a request for documentation of some sort or other? Meaning, do someone request of Mr. Hoffman some documentation to support the complainant, or?
I think at times it might be not clear sometimes if it's going to go towards a grievance. So, for example, if I request some information, it may not necessarily lead to a grievance or to that necessarily.
I was thinking the other way. If it comes to a grievance, if I was to file a grievance, would I have first contacted him to ask for some documentation in support of my grievance?
In our policy, and in most policies, it does state that once you start the grievance process, once you get to certain levels, you cannot then introduce new evidence, if you want to call it something. In other words, you just continue with that documentation that you started with at that level. So if we're in level 2, for example, then that is a documentation that I submit, and that's what I continue. I cannot bring additional, every time that I come to a different level, continue to bring more and more and more from previous.
I think what Mr. Amador is asking is, in some cases, when a person is contemplating perhaps filing a formal complaint, at that time, do they submit to Mr. Hoffman for additional information prior to making that decision? I believe at times some people do, and so that may interfere with their 15-day time frame, of which sometimes they may need the additional day or two. That does happen, but I think in most cases, in my experience and in asking questions here, I think many times people have the information that they need when they're going to make a formal complaint. But yes, there are instances when people are gathering documentation, we'll work with the communications office, and then submit the formal grievance or complaint form.
That's kind of what I was asking about the 15 days, because when you file a PIA request, it can take up to 10 days. So then you're down at least 5 days, if the parent is working or something. That's a pretty short amount of time to be able to get the information back, and then make a judgment call on their own, with their child or whatever the case may be. Then you're down to 5 days. If you're a working parent, I just don't want a parent to feel, or a community member to feel like they're rushing. You want to give them time to make it.
How about if they request some information, have the 15 days begin after receipt of the information?
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to have a discussion.
And I understand that point, but here's the concern, and I'm from an administrative perspective, because there may be an incident that occurred on January the 14th, 2016, and just now an individual has decided that they want to possibly write a complaint, and at that time ask for additional information from administration going through the communications office, and then we grant them that 15 days at that time. Then we're looking at investigating something that happened 2 years ago, and possibly, let's just say it was 2013, then we run into a situation where we are 2 superintendents later, new administrators at the campus, and so it becomes very difficult to conduct an investigation when these people are no longer serving in those capacities. So I'd say we have to be careful in saying to start that time frame then, but I just want to say that it's a known with us that there is some flexibility. It's not all black and white. Yes, we have these time frames because they protect both parties, but there's flexibility. I've had instances where something's been submitted outside of that 10-day window. Well, we look at the whole picture. We should look at the whole picture and consider all perspectives and make a decision that's in the best interest of both parties, administration and the complainant.
Mr. Flores?
Yeah, I just want to chime in. So being here for 18 years, serving on the board, I've been in a number of grievances, number of HR representatives, administration, et cetera. So, Dr. Gutierrez, you hit a couple of points that I was going to bring up in regards to taking off the time limit would open up the possibility of old grievances, and I'm against that with expecting our administration to spend their man hours digging up, investigating things that happened years ago, and I think that's an invaluable waste of tax dollars. The other point on this is from the history and working with this administration, and obviously not going into specific details about grievances, our administration, past and prior, have been very helpful, flexible in working with a complainant. For example, Dr. Gutierrez also mentioned if there was a complaint filed at the end, in the middle of December. Obviously, we know all the administration goes on a break, and if you talk about 15 days, you're already looking into, if by the time they come back to school, we're talking about January. So there's, when we use the word, in the district, use the word 15 business days. In the past, we haven't taken into consideration the 2-week break of what our employees are entitled to. So we have been very flexible, and to Mr. Amador's comment about are we providing the information, or is it being documented? Yes, it is. When a complainant goes to a specific individual, i.e. principal, our principals have been very good in identifying the process, the procedures. If an individual comes to a board member out of training and experience of board members, they obviously tell that individual to go to follow the chain of command and go to the teacher or the principal, whatever the case may be, and follow that process to file a grievance if they would like to. Probably 9 times out of 10, it does get handled at the level, first level, whether it be a principal or supervisor. So I think it is, we have I haven't seen any problems with the 15 days in the 18 years that I've been here, so I would be against that changing it, because we have been doing a good practice, unless there's something that's come up that we're not aware of, where this has been an issue that I'm not aware of. But I believe, as Dr. Gutierrez indicated, and then Dr. Barola indicated, we have a process and the chain of command that has been practiced and followed in this district.
Any other comments? Ms. Reel?
I'll disagree, because I wasn't looking for it to be eliminated. But just a little more flexibility with the 15 days, and if we perhaps 30 days or something, just, you know.
And what I'd like to publicly let the public know is that we certainly will have flexibility. Yes, we have the policy that we follow and abide by. However, when we do run across issues and a need to gather more information, we certainly will remain open-minded and be sensitive to all parties involved.
I think it's a great idea to add the additional information on the website, so it's a little more open, I guess, and transparent for people who may be considering some type of an action. Mr. Jenkins?
Ditto that.
All right, well, this was just a discussion at this point, so I guess, okay, Ms. Reel? Okay. All right.
Okay, so just to go back then, at this time is just to make it more visible and accessible for the public on the webpage.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct?
Yeah, not just information, but the forms and
Everything that goes along with it.
All right. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 5, our consent agenda items to consider and possibly approve. Under policy BE local, it states that the consent agenda shall include items of a routine and/or recurring nature grouped together under one action item. All such items shall be acted upon by one vote without separate discussion unless a board member requests that an item be withdrawn for individual consideration. The remaining items shall be adopted under a single motion and vote. So up in the agenda items today, we have the approval of board minutes for August 28th, 2017, and special board meeting September 13th, 2017. The approval of tax collection reports for August 2017. Approval of proposed budget amendments and financial statements for August 2017. Technology expenditures, innovative course offerings for 2017-2018, and consideration of approval of certified appraisers for 2017-2018.
Madam President, I move to approve the consent agenda items.
All right. Do any of the trustees want to pull any of these? If not, we have a motion from Mr. Holt. Do I hear a second?
Second.
A second from
Second.
Mr. Flores. Thank you. All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. Motion carries with 7. All right. Moving on to action items. First up, 6A, we have consideration for payment of $365,000 to Tangram Rehabilitation Network, Inc. for the contract services provided by ResCare Premier. And we have Ms. Martin Dean.
President and Ms. Gordon. This is the same contract I brought to you last year for a student in a residential placement. I was able to successfully negotiate the price from $1,000 a day, from $1,200 to $1,000. So we got a better deal. We renegotiated that contract. Of this money that we spend, I will be applying for grants and things like that from the state. So the total amount that we're required to spend out of our federal budget is 20% of our base federal entitlement, which comes to $144,000. So we don't actually expend the full amount, but we have to write the contract for the full amount.
You move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion second.
Any more discussion? All right. All in favor, Mr. Jenkins?
Last year, you said they were going to get money back. How were we successful with that?
We did. We got 2 separate grants that covered, so we ended up expending the approximately the same amount, about $140,000 of the, last year it was $415,000 that we owed to the contract, but we only spent about $140,000.
All right. Any further questions? Now we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hands. Okay, opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on to action item B, adopt the resolution for the assignment of fund balance. Dr. Gutierrez or Tony Hilbert. Tony.
Yes, President Jimenez, Superintendent Gutierrez, members of the board, we have before you this evening a resolution to adopt the assignment of fund balance in the amount of $120,000. This is as it pertains to 2 initiatives that are identified with respect to the 90-day plan. And as you're aware, the 90-day plan was something that came into fruition subsequent to the initial budget process for the 17-18 school year. So there are 2 reasons for the need for assigning fund balance. A, these obviously weren't a part of the original budget, but secondly, they are, at the moment, these would be one-time expenditures. And to the extent that there may be a portion of them that are not one-time expenditures, we would incorporate those into the budgetary process in future years. So I just wanted to explain that, but that's the reason for bringing that before you now.
Any questions? Ms. Reel?
Can you share for everybody what their expenditures would be for?
Yes, well, as it mentions here, there are 2 initiatives. One is for professional learning in the amount of $50,000. And then there's a couple of planning arrangements that Dr. Gutierrez has in place, and we're estimating approximately $70,000 for those. One is for staffing as well as strategic planning and also facilities. We're already in the process right now of developing a facilities committee, and there'll be costs associated with that as time goes on.
Move for approval.
Second.
Question? Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other further questions? Ms. Rhea?
I just have a comment. I realize that we're long overdue for some of these things, and I'm supportive of Dr. Gutierrez's initiative, absolutely. I would request that the district exercise some caution on expenditures, just from looking at the budget. We're already over budget on the original adopted budget, and then we have a fuse out loan payment coming due of $665,000. So I understand that we need to spend this money. I just want to make sure that we're keeping our fund balance where we can good financial health.
Yeah, question that's going to be directed to you. Are we over budget?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
I'm not
I just wanted to make
I
sure.
was just looking at the budget amendments on the budget documents.
Mhm.
It's just it's been amended already.
Well, the amendments that you've seen are standard adjustments in line item, but to say that we're over budget's certainly not the case, and we're at the very beginning of the school year. We're nowhere near over budget. We have a budget in place. We fully anticipate staying within that budget. Whether a given line item may need an adjustment, now that happens all the time. You do that every year. It's just, you can't possibly know at the beginning of the year how you're going to want to allocate. Things come up, for example, typically you can have some issues that come up in maintenance, and so some costs that perhaps were somewhat discretionary and you made some decisions regarding those, you may no longer have the decision-making authority because of a maintenance-related item that comes up. This is just one example, but there are a number. Others are within given departments. They choose to move some money around, and they have the flexibility to do so. So you'll see budget amendments from time to time throughout the year, virtually every single month. But the budget in its entirety is, we're well within that at the moment, and continue to believe that we will stay that way all year.
I just know we need our general operating fund, and anytime we do a line item like this, our general operating fund takes a hit, and I'm just expressing my concern.
All right. Any further questions? And I've lost track of who made the motion. I believe it was Mr. Holt. Mr. Flores, and Mr. Holt has seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much. 7-0. All right, moving on to action item C, Facilities Committee appointment. This is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt the resolution for the, wrong one. I'm getting it behind myself. We need to assign a couple of people to our Facilities Committee. And so the recommendation is that the board president appoint 2 board members to serve on District Facilities Committee. And as we know, we've been talking about this committee for quite a while, and it's probably about a 3-year commitment. So after a lot of thought and reflection, I nominate and appoint Ben Amador and Carl Jenkins to the Facilities Committee. Any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Ma'am, I guess the question is there a reason why Mr. Holt was removed? I was just wondering, because, I mean, you could have 3 board members on the committee and it's not, you're not violating anything. Mr. Holt has served on the committee and will be able to provide some good insight. Unless he doesn't want to serve, I'm just I don't know if that consideration was taken.
Actually, I expressed my desire to serve on this facilities committee several months ago when it first came up, and have expressed it several times since, which kind of concerned me that I wasn't even considered. I understand that she feels that the president feels that it's a 3-year commitment, and I am up for re-election next year, but still up to the point that I am up for election, or whether or not I'm re-elected or not. I can still provide informative information to this committee that would help. And since I've already been in the district or in the board for 3 years, and I know a few of the facilities concerns, and have talked with people, it will, I guess, expedite some of the discussions we may have. So that was the reason why I wanted to be on it, because I know of some needs, immediate needs that are already there. But again, it's the board president's, according to this, the board president's choice. So.
Yes, ma'am. I was just inquiring, because like I said, you could have three board members on any committee we have in the past, and I was just wondering, it's not a quorum, so is there a reason why not to have 3?
Dr. Gutierrez and I have discussed it, and he wanted this committee to be not a board-driven initiative. We didn't want to have it heavy with board members. We wanted to include members of the public as well. So it was decided to cut it down to 2 members.
My recommendation was based off the way the construction committee was formatted with 2 board members. I think that with 2 it worked out really nice. Not to have to work through multiple schedules, and to make sure that it stayed a committee that was really driven by the administration.
Understood. Okay.
All right, do I hear a motion for approval? Ms. Reel, do I hear a second? Mr. Amador, any further discussion? All in favor of these appointments, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. So we have 5 for and 2 against. Thank you. And moving on to the last action item, personnel action for professional employees. Ms. Whitman.
At this time, there are no new elections. Our campuses are staffed at this time. On your board agenda, we had 1 resignation September 5th due to a teacher having to relocate. So if there's any other questions.
All right, do I hear a motion for approval?
Madam President, I move that we accept the resignation as listed.
Thank you, Mr. Holt. Second, Mr. Jenkins. Further discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passes 7-0. All right, at this point, I think we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we will break into closed session. So we're going to close this open meeting right now at 7:38, reconvene in the room over here at 7:43. All right. All right, it is 9:13. We're going to reconvene to open meeting. And
Madam President.
Yes, Mr. Holt.
I'd like to approve the district emergency operation plan, or move to approve the district emergency operations plan as submitted to us by the district administration.
All right, do I hear a second? Mr. Jenkins, all right. Any discussion? Nope. All right, everybody raise your right hand in favor. Opposed, same sign, and motion carries. And at this point, we're going to move on to 8C and go on to issues for future agenda or creation of administrative reports. Do any of you have anything you'd like to see? Yes, sir.
Madam President, I'd like to bring to the attention of the board at this time the current condition of our Matador costume, our mascot costume. Over the past 3 weeks, being at football games, Pepe has lost some eyebrows, mouth, his neck is starting to flail, and it's in major disarray, to the point that even the straps are coming off, they're gluing, they're hot gluing at times. We've got a repair kit on hand at all times, and it's right. What's that disease where that condition where they lose all their hair and everything. Alopecia. He looks like an alopecia from here. I mean, he's just black. I mean, it's pretty bad. And so I discussed with Coach Zink, who's over the mascot, and she has been looking into replacing that. However, it's not a budgeted item. I would challenge the administrative team, Dr. Gutierrez and his team, to find some funds so that we will have a presentable mascot at our facility, at our functions. And this is a mascot that serves not just the high school, but serves our entire district and is our actual, icon. And I think we need to take a little pride in our mascot and beef them up a little bit, make them a little bit more macho, or strong, or powerful. So I just it's been brought to me by several complaints by several parents, and so I thought that I needed to bring it to the attention of the board at this time.
Mr. Holt, I appreciate that feedback. I feel your pain. I've seen the conditions of the mascot and have heard several concerns, and being that we have a brand new high school state-of-the-art facility, it would be nice to be able to have a mascot that represents our entire district that was a point of pride as well.
Thank you, Mr. Holt. Anybody else? Ms. Reel? Turn on your mic.
Currently, we don't have any sort of a policy for the balance in our general operating funds. I know I've talked to Dr. Gutierrez and just asking questions and learning. There are recommendations, I think you said from TEA, right? CASB to TEA, like a couple of months. I would just kind of like to, have a workshop or discuss, have an agenda item, something of putting together some sort of a policy that defines what percentage or number of months of operating expenses that the district requires there to be a minimum in the general operating fund. And steps to be taken if we drop below it. The goal just being to improve the district's fund balance and just be mindful of it so that we can be better able to serve our students and our teachers. So that we don't ever get in a, if there's sort of a bad situation, that we're not ever in a bind.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to see reported on? Okay. Well, if not, we will close this meeting. It is 9:17. Everybody head home.